I would just like to ask Target, what are you doing?
I know. Seriously, what a shocker. Welcome to Innovating Inclusion, everyone.
There are at least a dozen companies that have either pared back or dropped language about diversity, equity, and inclusion from their annual reports, according to NPR. Some of these companies are pretty big ones, like Google and GM and Pepsi and Disney, Intel and PayPal. The list goes on and on, even places like Chipotle and Amazon.
We've had the chance to speak to Keisha Greaves, a fashion designer and CEO of the brand Girls Chronically Rock. She talks about her journey being diagnosed with muscular dystrophy and how she became an advocate for adaptive fashion design at her alma mater in Boston.
She also talked about how Target's change in DEI policy affects her aspiration for her clothing line.
Yeah, that change really is impacting the way she's thinking about things for sure. Everyone, please enjoy this episode of Innovating Inclusion with Keisha Greaves.
Hello, everybody. We are very, very excited to talk about all things fashion. So, Keisha, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your mission behind Girls Chronically Rock?
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much for that. My name is Keisha Greaves. I'm the CEO and founder of Girls Chronically Rock clothing brand, which I started in 2017 because I wanted to help create something to help inspire and motivate others in the disability community. I myself live with limb-girdle muscular dystrophy, and I was diagnosed with that in around 2010. So it was while I was in graduate school. It wasn't even something I was born with, kind of came out of nowhere. So as you could imagine, here I am in graduate school, early 20s, living my best life, but still in school, but then started to get these really weird symptoms and trying to figure out what was going on within my body. But I always had a passion for fashion. I studied fashion design and merchandising at Framingham State University out here where I live, and I got a bachelor's in fashion design and merchandising. So I knew I always wanted to be a fashion designer, own my own business. So of course, when getting those results, figuring out what was going on with my body, and doctors saying I have muscular dystrophy, I felt like my whole world changed and my life had shut down. But here I am doing podcast interviews.
Yeah.
If you had met me a few years back, Keisha, do you see yourself sharing your story or etc.? I'll be like, no way, because you couldn't tell me I had muscular dystrophy.
Now, were there any signs that led you to actually go to the doctor to get checked for this?
The first one was definitely like I noticed my leg would just give out. The last time I remember during that time, I was at the supermarket with my mom and sister, and I'm pushing the cart, and my leg just like totally gives out. And when I fell, oh, let me hop up, brush off. But it was like I was a dead weight, and my mom and sister could not even lift me up.
Wow.
So I remember a guy who came over, and he kind of lifted me up, was able to grab me because it was like I said, like a dead weight. Another symptom I noticed was like I would be at home. I was living with my mom still at the time, and trying to reach for like certain things like in the cabinet. I noticed my arm wouldn't really extend out as it should. At the supermarket, my mom and sister were like, I think like something's not right. You've been falling a lot. Let's go to the doctors, get it checked out. So we're thinking maybe it's just something in the feet. So we go see an orthopedist out here in Boston, Mass at Tufts Medical Center. And I always remember that appointment. I go in to orthopedics and they asked me to lift my right leg up, and my right leg would not extend out as it should. And that was the first time they witnessed that. So they both kind of looked at each other like puzzled themselves. And they were like, you know what? I think you need to see a neurologist. And I'm just like, a neurologist? So they're like, because we think it's more something neuromuscular.
Yeah.
La-di-da. I'm not really still thinking anything of it. I'm just thinking maybe I just need to exercise. I need to lose some weight. This will blow over. But that wasn't the case. So once I went to go see a neurologist, we kind of pretty much just went to it. We got MRI, EKG, EMG, all these different testings I never heard of. But most interesting of all was that I got a muscle biopsy where they took a piece of muscle from out of my leg to test it. I always remember that day when I got that phone call. My neurologist said, Keisha, we got your test results back. You have muscular dystrophy. And I'm like, what is she talking about? I never heard of it. Nobody in my family seemed to have it. I'm like, you must have got these test results mixed up. I was just kind of brushing it off. But a part of me knew that it had to be some truth to it. Because as soon as I hung up with her, I go straight to Google, like most of us do.
Yeah, that's right. We know not to do that, right?
I totally shut down. Even going up to follow-up appointments with her, I thought as I walked in, she was going to say, Keisha, we got your test results mixed up. You don't have muscular dystrophy. This was such and such. But that wasn't the case. Even when I was working in retail, starting to do physical therapy, had to use a cane. I would tell my coworkers, oh, I was in a car accident or I sprained my ankle. That's how much in denial I was. Because it sounded better to say either, oh, car accident or sprained ankle. What was in the back of my head, I'm like, this thing is here to stay.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't willing to say, I have muscular dystrophy. This kind of came out of nowhere. Just looking back of how much I feel like I took for granted, just opening the door without not even thinking about an accessibility button. Whereas now I'm just like, I need that. I need to make sure this place has an elevator. So I tell people to this day, I was able to live the able-bodied life from that perspective. But now I'm a part of this awesome disability community, whereas my eyes has opened up so much, not just with me, but family and friends, where we all have to kind of learn together.
I actually absolutely empathize with you in that regard because even when I was diagnosed with Usher syndrome, retinal eye disease that causes blindness and hearing loss, when I would go to places and I was still trying to accept my disability, some events that I go to, they offer free drinks and sometimes I'm not able to see and people would say, whoa, like, are you okay? Those really were strong drinks. Yeah. Which that would not even be the case. Sometimes I would not even touch a glass of wine, but I felt like it was easier to digest for not only myself, but for others. And you mentioned that your family was literally there and they were the ones that suggest that maybe you should get checked out, which was the same for my family as well. It was something that you and your family both had to learn together. Did you go through those stages of grief where you might have even been upset or angry or just confused or scared?
I totally shut down at that diagnosis. Even like, I wouldn't even tell my cousins. The only reason my cousins knew at that time was because, my mom corresponded with my aunties, her sisters, how that goes. So, but I wasn't like, oh, yeah, this is what I have. Friends would ask me to go out. I was just making excuses because I'm just like, what did this doctor just tell me? Like, I'm just trying to process it all. And then when I did want to go out, it was like if a place had stairs, because again, this is my early 20s. So I'm still going out to bars, having fun. No, it was just that I was scared.
Yeah, like you're still young, you still want to live it up. How did you start adapting when it comes to your disability? When did you realize the importance of inclusivity?
Two great questions. Well, how it kind of helped me, and I tell people to this day, I'm like, I still have my days. So I want to say that first and foremost. I'll tell people, I'm like, yeah, you may see me laughing on this, podcast, etc. But I'm like, sometimes at night, then I cry. Sometimes I'm wide awake. Sometimes my PCAs are getting on my nerves, so it's a lot that goes in with it. But what helped me was during that time, my friend at the time was like, hey, why don't you write a blog, share your story? And this was like the early stages about your diagnosis. And I'm like, why would I do that? I don't have muscular dystrophy. So that's still in denial I was. But eventually, I just kind of opened up my laptop and started typing and just venting like how I am, with you guys now about that journey. And as I was typing and saying it out loud, I was like, I have muscular dystrophy. It was like, it took that moment. Never mind what the doctor was saying. It was me typing it out loud, typing it as a blog. And I'm like, I have muscular dystrophy. That's crazy. So I remember just posting it. I don't even think I proofread it, nothing. I just posted it on Facebook, Tumblr. I know was popular at that time. And I remember I was just like, boom, there it is. And I remember getting such great feedback. People that talk to me or see me on a daily basis. At these stages, you couldn't look at me and see I had muscular dystrophy unless you, probably maybe see me waddle a little bit, but I didn't have a cane. I was still driving, doing me. So people was like, oh my God, I know this person that has that. And would just turn into a more like support thing. But what really helped me was on social media using hashtags, disability awareness, hashtag muscular dystrophy, and meeting other individuals that look like me, Black creatives, doing their thing on social media, some with muscular dystrophy, some with different illnesses. It didn't make me feel alone. I felt like reaching out, going to different support groups, because like I always say, yes, you may get the support of family and friends, but there's nothing like talking to somebody who knows what disability looks like.
I agree. I'm blind. I've been blind since birth. I relate with you and I empathize with you over the fact that it took me to accept that I'm blind. I didn't grow up with blind people. I didn't meet blind people till I was a teenager. So even then, I had to really accept, well, this is my disability and I'm meeting people that I can relate to. So, I mean, that's just the comment I wanted to make.
Thank you for sharing. And then I'm sure you probably felt much better when you met other individuals like yourself because they get it.
Yeah.
They might put on that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, going into Girl Chronically Rock, where did that come from? I saw a lot of your themes over the years, and you truly are one that really rocks. So I think everyone needs to hear the actual story of how you were able to turn your lemons into lemonade.
So how it got started, as I mentioned, I live and breathe fashion, looked up to designers such as Betsy Johnson, Kimora Lee Simmons, and Tommy Hilfiger. And so I always knew I wanted to be a fashion designer. So of course, when things took a turn, when I got that diagnosis, I was like, what does my future hold? What's going to happen? I was like, you know what? It's time to start putting my fashion degree to use. And I'm a true believer in things do happen for a reason. I live by that. I may not believe in why now, why I have muscular dystrophy, but I was like, let me create something to help inspire and motivate others in the disability community with expressing that through fashion. So I'm a huge person on graphic t-shirts because I love inspirational quotes. As you can see, my mantra is, hello, my name is Chronically Ill Badass. Like, yeah, we may have a disability point of view, but we're doing us. Walk with the twist. Like I say, I waddle. I used to walk like a penguin. We walk with sometimes a walker or a cane. And then another one, trust your dopeness, trust and believe in yourself. So how I came up with the name is that I knew I wanted something with the word chronic in it, but I didn't know how I wanted to incorporate it at the time. So honestly, I was just lying in bed one night sleeping. That's when most of my creative ideas come to mind, designs, whatever. And something just came to me, Girls Chronically Rock. I was like, I like that. I like the way it sounded. I like the way it flowed. It's empowering. And I just like kind of just went with it from there. I first started selling on Etsy. Over the time, I revamped it, got a grant where someone can build my website because I'm so not tech savvy. Yeah, it just kind of blew up. I'm not saying like it's big. It's still not where I want it to be. Like I would still love to get it into retail channels. Target was my number one choice I wanted to, but now hearing that they dropped their DEI is very, very disappointing to me. It's not just clothing, but I look at it as a movement where I'm also doing speaking engagements. Want to bring this awareness to different universities, especially where I graduated from. I want fashion students to learn how to create adaptive fashion for people like myself with disabilities because that's so important. Because when I was in school, I wasn't thinking about that. So many things I took for granted. I was able-bodied, able to run up and down the stairs in my dorm room with groceries, laundry, all of that. So it's like I wasn't thinking about adaptive fashion. So now that I'm in this situation and I have that awareness, I brought that back to my university at Framingham State, where, the fashion students now are learning about adaptive fashion because I think that's so important. So many designers now, like Tommy Hilfiger, Kohl's, Target now has an adaptive line. So it's becoming more popular, and I'm excited to see that. My dream, I would love to work with Tommy Hilfiger one day. So I'm like, oh, come on, Tommy. Just trying to bring that awareness. I also did New York Fashion Week 2 years ago. That was an amazing experience. That was on my bucket list. So I was so excited to see that. And looking back at pictures just to this day, I'm like, wow, I did New York Fashion Week. So it's just like, I feel like it's still so much more I want to do. And I just live and breathe fashion, but also bringing that awareness through disability advocacy, because now I'm just like such a huge disability advocate, advocating for so many things, serving on boards. Whereas, like I said, if you had asked me this years back, I'll be like, no way. I don't have muscular dystrophy. Why would I be talking about that?
Right. What are other people's reaction to other women and other girls, their reaction to what you're doing? And I also have to ask about your thoughts on the DI program being removed. And because a lot of fashion designers and clothing designers, I put my feet in your shoes and try to think about, where are you guys standing in this moment? Are you afraid? How are you going to maneuver around this to be able to still make sure that you're inspiring and making sure you still stand 10 times stronger and taller?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's a work in progress. For the first question, I would say for the feedback and responses I get, has been amazing. I love when someone places an order or when I hear that bling from my Shopify and I'm like, someone wants to buy my t-shirt. And then I love when they repost it on social media, etc. I love when after I do a speaking engagement, people will say, oh, I love your story. I'm going to buy a t-shirt, for my daughter's friend. She has a disability. Or I'm just going to buy this t-shirt for my wife to show support. And when I get messages like that, even messages from you guys that, oh, you want to interview me on your podcast? I'm like, really, me? Because sometimes, I can doubt myself. Sometimes I'm just like, what are people understanding my mission? And then as far as the DEI, I've been trying to get into Target for years. Especially, I was happy when they first created that DEI program after the George Floyd incident. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is awesome. Maybe, that's going to be my year 1 year. But when I heard like recently how they just dropped it, I was just like, I was so surprised. I freaking love Target. I get everything from there, household stuff, whatever. And so I love that people are coming together to boycott it. But then it's like, I'm kind of torn because like Tabitha has her line in Target and she's like, yes, I get what you guys are saying. But then she was like, if you're not shopping there, then it's
Tabitha Brown at it, y'all.
yes, Tabitha Brown. And I'm just like, she made a good point. All right, we boycotted, but then we're also letting our people down, minority businesses that are already in there. But I'm just like, I felt like was so surprised at Target. Wow, this is how you really feel? I feel like they were two-faced.
No.
Whereas other stores like Costco, Apple, other ones, and I'm like, wow, I never even shopped at Costco. But just to see that, and I see like Al Sharpton and stuff like walk through a Costco store like 2 weeks ago, I was like, now I'm gonna go sign up and have a membership. Because I'm like, I respect that for them, fighting back. And I'm just realizing the EI goes so deep. It's not just minorities, people with disabilities.
Right.
So my line's never going to get into Target. They never probably had a option to even have me in there. So that's how I think. And Amazon is tough. Amazon, I shop my groceries off of there. How they quickly dropped the DEI too. I'm like, wow, that's how you really felt. So it's something I'm still processing, figuring out what are the next steps. But I'm thinking that they have, maybe I'm being naive, but I'm thinking they have some kind of plan why they let that. There has to be something they're about to do. So I'm just waiting. That's my hopes are, but I don't know.
And if you continue to do what you do, I feel like it's very possible for someone to see you and your mission and suddenly just tilt their head and say, you know what, maybe we can bring this back. You never know. So that's why their mission is important. We definitely wanted to get your thoughts on that. So thank you so much for giving up that.
I really hope that they could do something to bring it back because it's truly very scary and very devastating that is something that is happening in our world currently. I know you said that Betsy Johnson is one of your biggest inspirations, and I love her. I love her style. I own 2 pairs of her platform rhinestone sneakers, and I love wearing them. I do want to ask you, what has been one of the greatest lessons that you've learned by being an entrepreneur?
I would say that number one, being more humble. Second, I don't know it all. I tell people to this day, I'm like, yeah, I may have been in business since 2017. I may have a disability since 2010, but I feel like I'm still learning along the way. I don't know it all. Networking, going to those networking events, joining those groups like on Facebook, Boston Business Women, Women Helping Women Entrepreneurs, support groups with disabilities. I'm still learning something new every day. I don't know everything. So just being more humble and networking, you never know who knows who, like, connections. I'm waiting for someone to say, hey, I know Betsy Johnson. I know Tommy Hilfiger.
As a person with a disability, if you dare to request for money, it's almost as if you should just be lucky that we have chosen you or those sorts of things. Have you been in situations like that where you've had to stand up for yourself and let people know your work?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. Because I feel like earlier on when I was becoming like, more comfortable doing speaking engagements, I didn't really mind because I'm like, I'm sharing my story, networking. Sometimes the speaking engagements lead into sales after, with my t-shirt line. But over the time, I'm just like, I'm bringing some great information here, so I want to get hired. I even post on LinkedIn when some people have reached out and they're, oh, hey, we would love to have you speak. And, I may say, oh, a price or is this compensating? And they kind of like, oh, they kind of shocked at first. And then I had this one person when I gave her a price of how much, I would charge. She was like, oh, wow, good for you. So it was like she wasn't used to that. Like she probably was like, oh, wow, look at her. She's like asking for this amount, whereas another person may have just been honored. Like you said, like they feel like, oh, honored that I even asked you to speak at my engagement. So it definitely took some time, but now I'm more confident talking about certain topics. And like I said, now I'm so much more open. Like, I don't care anymore. I say whatever. Any questions you ask me, I'm like, I tell it how it is because I realize that has helped me connections and serve on the different boards because I'm not like being around the bush. I'm like, this is what it is. This is what needs to be done for the disability community.
Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years as far as growth is concerned?
Honestly, when I get asked this question, I tell people, I'm like, I'm not gonna feel like I made it until I start making and living like the Kardashians. Cause I'm like, I want to build that empire. I don't just see Girls Chronically Rock as clothing. I see it so much more, especially air travel. I'm like, plus I used to love traveling with my wheelchair. It's so discouraging. Look at how they just throw our wheelchairs to the side. It's like we land and I got no wheelchair. People don't realize if we don't have our wheelchair, that's our legs. So I'm thinking about so much more Girls Chronically Rock Airlines, Girls Chronically Rock clothing, stationery. I kind of have this whole big vision.
You, Angie, and I, we could just go to the dermatologist together to get our facelift, and why not?
I'd definitely be down for that. And I think it's great to have big dreams and big aspirations. What advice would you give to young people that want to become entrepreneurs, that want to get involved in universal design or maybe even fashion design, whether it's a young person with a disability or somebody that doesn't have a disability, but that wants to make a difference in the world and be inclusive?
When I get asked this question, I tell people if you have an idea, you have a vision, you want to start something, I say just do it. Because before you know it, it will be up and running. What definitely helps me is, again, that networking. Even if you're in high school, like how I took a fashion illustration class because I knew I wanted to be a fashion designer. Find out if your school has fashion classes or maybe entrepreneurship classes. Another thing that helped me along the way is as I got older, out here in Massachusetts, a lot of accelerator programs were offered. Like I did E4All. I did a boot camp where that accelerator program has helped me get to Girls Chronically Rock to this day, offer grant opportunities, networking, collaboration. So definitely like that network going on Facebook when you're old enough. And of course, these young people today, TikTok. TikTok is where it's at. I know I go there, but when I'm having a bad day, like TikTok makes me laugh. I may not post a lot of content, but just going there watching other people's videos, I get inspiration and it puts me in a different mood. So I would say go for it. Talk to your teachers at your school. Say, hey, this is what I want to do. Do you have recommendations? Does the school support that? Do they have this program here? Do you? Because before you know it, your business will be up and running, your vision. Don't hesitate. Just do it.
So now we are getting to our fire question.
So every time that we have a guest on, we always conclude each episode with rapid fire questions. So the first question that I will be asking you is, what do you envision?
I used to envision, honestly, sometimes like, oh, I can get up and walk again. But sometimes I'm just like, I'm okay in my wheelchair. I got the best seat in the house. So that's number one. But overall envision, I want to see Girls Chronically Rock Empire. Sometimes I feel like us in the disability community need our own city. We need our own housing. We need like so much more. It's like we're kind of our own individuals. I want to envision accessible airlines where we don't have to get out of our wheelchair. If I want to go to Barbados, Jamaica, wherever. So I just want a world all inclusive, everyone gets along.
I love that. Now, the next one is, what do you know to be true?
What I know to be true is that I'm Black and that I'm a woman. And that is something I got to conquer each and every day. That is something I felt like ever since, especially November 5th of 2024. I felt like I had to fight even harder because of, who I wanted to get elected did not. Ready for a Black woman, a woman at that, to become president. So that was a damper. So that now I realize I have to fight even harder. But I do know I'm Black, I'm a woman, I'm someone with a disability. And I just have to make strides every day.
Love that.
Can you tell us one thing that people would be surprised to learn about you?
I mean, I love TV. I don't know if people would be surprised, but I tell people TV was what keeps me sane. When I'm down and wondering why me or my caregivers are getting on my nerves, etc., whatever it may be, that entertainment keeps my mind occupied.
Yeah.
Another thing is, like I tell people, going on TikTok. I could be in bed crying, but then I go on TikTok and just scrolling. And I'm like, I love people sharing their videos, different things. Even when TikTok just went down for that day for a few hours, I was panicked.
Oh my God, that was brutal.
Exactly, right? Like a lot of people don't realize, like it's not just for content creators. I was like, people don't realize that it's kind of a therapeutic for us.
You mentioned therapeutic going into our last rapid fire question. If you were stranded on a desert island, what accessible assistive technology would you grab?
First things I thought of was ramp, elevator. I'm like, those things are a must. And then, of course, I would say my phone.
Gotta have that, right?
Yes, right. And gotta have TikTok on there. But I would say those three. Of course, like someone like my wheelchair, obviously, that would be important. I would want that. Oh man, then I would need the charger. You see, it goes to expand so much, but I would say elevator, ramp, cell phone.
I love it. It was such a pleasure having you on Innovating Inclusion. That's
Thank
something
you.
you are absolutely doing with Girl Chronically Rock. And we thank you so much. And how can the people contact you, reach out to you, and support this mission?
Yeah, definitely check out my website, girlschronicallyrock.com. I am also on TikTok, Girls Chronically Rock. I am on Instagram. I'm owner of Girls Chronically Rock. But yeah, you'll find out all my contact information on social media, email, everything is there. And feel free to reach out even if you're not purchasing anything. I love to just get messages from other individuals like, oh, hey, I have this disability, or I know someone that has muscular dystrophy, and etc. I love connecting and, networking with others in the disability communities.
Love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
As of February 28th, 2025, Target has lost more than $15.7 billion in market value, with stockholders demanding refunds, and consumers are in the middle of a 40-day Target Fast boycott.
Innovating Inclusion is produced in association with Envisions, a program of the Fox Family Foundation, whose mission is to break the link between poverty and disability. The goal of Envisions is to teach high school and college students to innovate with universal design in mind, where young entrepreneurs of all abilities create side by side, so as they become the next generation of leaders and hiring managers, any stigma is gone and the world is accessible to everyone. Our theme song was written by Alex Kapp, with incidental music by Kylie Cooper and Bruce McGinnis. Our producer is Akita Nakano. Please visit our website, envisions.org.